there was no real kind of conscious choice not to make a film about gay characters. I think for me, you end up getting pigeonholed quite quickly when you make a film. So obviously, I made Weekend, and the HBO show is about kind of gay characters, but it was never my intention to only make kind of queer or gay kind of narratives. I think to me there's a lot more similarities between this film and Weekend than perhaps first it seems apparent. I think what interests me is relationships and the complexities of relationships. And so I think this feels like an obvious kind of progression from Weekend, even though the characters are obviously older and they're not gay. And Elton John, I don't know, I like Elton John, but the character obviously doesn't.
I never felt comfortable in making big Hollywood films. I had the chance of doing it because I was sort of put. I had one or two breaks early on, so at about 20 I went to Hollywood and they wanted me to put me in certain films, but I felt very uneasy there. It didn't seem to be the kind of cinema I wanted to be part of. The kind of cinema I've always wanted to be part of and have mostly done of films of my consideration that are of any worth that I've done have been much more auteur-oriented, therefore smaller films, and so therefore those kind of films, those kind of smaller films actually haven't really changed much over the years, because it means that you are not part of a system, you're part of a more of an original independent endeavour. So the independent endeavour actually is just about how do you make films. Films have been made all since films began. We've been discovering new ways of making films, but the contents of the film, which is about people, which is about human behavior, which is about social issues, which is about how our world works and how human behavior works, has more or less been just because different directors will see it in a different way. And that's the cinema I've always tried to privilege. Less the entertainment type side of cinema didn't seem to be what attracted me so much personally. So from my point of view, it hasn't really changed. I feel that I've just, the films that have counted for me, it's almost as if it's just, I just made them yesterday. It's just been about feeling things and about being things almost rather than acting things, just being who I am at each given stage in my life and finding directors who have subjects that allow me to do that, actually. Yeah.
In terms of like desire and I suppose like sexual relationships and romantic relationships, they just interest me so much because I think it's how we communicate obviously with another person, and the relationships we have are what define our lives more than probably anything else. And so that's why that's always interests me. And I think, sexuality and desire between two people, alters and changes throughout somebody's life and throughout your life, and can mean different things at different times. And it's a way for us to connect and to separate and all kinds of things. So I think it's such an integral part to our nature that I keep coming back to it as being an interesting topic.
I have rather an obvious, quite a simple answer. I mean, the main difference between The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Runner and 45 years is 50-odd years. And it's a lifetime apart, and it's nice to do two films that are, cover that many years.
And I think so. I would say, I think for me it's very interesting making a film with actors such as Charlotte and Tom when they have such a back catalogue of work, because especially in a film where it's two people like remembering their past, you can't help but remember the actor's past within it, which I think is interesting. Both, the films that both of these two have done in their past kind of reflect within the film as well.
I think it's creating, in fact, a space. A director needs to create a space within each moment of the film, within each scene, that we know we're going to be working on, say, on a given day, and you create the space, which then has a location, it has a room or a kitchen, or here it was in the house or in the garden or something. And within that space, I think you find your place, and a director will let the actor, almost like a sort of training a horse. You let the horse gallop off and do stuff, and so the actor. Well, this is how I feel it is. That then the actor becomes appropriate, sort of owns the space that he's in, owns the character that he's now in since the last night, and so you get back into that world. And it's a very, it's very much about body language, it's very much about instinctive feeling, it's very much about the moment, it's very much about actually what happens in the moment that can be not organized at all, but something can happen and you use that, or like me sort of sitting at the piano doing it, and it became what it became, or but you very much need a structure of the scene. You very much need an act. Well, I certainly do. I need to know where I sort of can't go, so that in where I can go, like a child really, if you give a child a structure within his play area, then he's happy and he knows that he can't go too far out, because then you get sort of out of control, and that's not good for the screen at all. You need to be, actually, I think an actor needs to be incredibly contained. So within that containment, you actually are able to bring out, the strength inside you, because you feel protected.